Welcome to Unit 6 Test Prep. This is all on geometry and measurement. Let's get started. Okay, a question you are likely to find on your test will be to name each triangle in two different ways. We have looked at how triangles can be classified by their sides and angles, and I'm going to look at A first. A, I have measured, and I see that all sides are equal. All angles are also equal. That means that triangle A is an equilateral triangle. But that's only one way I could classify it. Another way is looking just at the angles. All of the angles in an equilateral triangle are less than 90 degrees. Therefore, this triangle is also an acute triangle. For triangle B, I've measured, and in this triangle, having used my ruler and protractor, I can tell you that there are two equal sides and two equal angles. That makes this an isosceles triangle. And I also know that one of the angles I measured was a 90-degree angle, which makes the other way I could describe this triangle as a right triangle. For C, having used my ruler and protractor, I know that all sides and angles are different, which makes this a scalene triangle. I also know that one of the angles is greater than 90 degrees, which makes this an obtuse triangle because it has an obtuse angle. Be sure to review over those types of triangles. Moving on, you need to use a ruler and protractor when drawing triangles. In this question, which you will have something very similar on your test, you are told to draw a triangle ABC. You are given some information about how to draw that triangle. It tells you that the measure of angle B is 30 degrees. The length of side AB is 5 centimeters. The length of side BC is 3 centimeters. What you need to do here, and I will show you a picture of what this triangle looks like. Here, you would want to start with one of the side lengths that you were given. For this example, we will take the length of side BC and draw 3 centimeters. You could have chosen the other one as well. Drawing a straight line segment, BC, you need to use your ruler and draw 3 centimeters. The line must be straight using your ruler, and if you happen to have it, if your hand slips or anything during it, you want to erase and do it again to make it exact. You also need to label the points on either end of that line segment. One would be B and one would be C. And of course, you want to label the length of the line. In this case, it's 3 centimeters. Then what you need to do is you have to use the rest of the information that you have been given. You were told in the question that the measure of angle B is 30 degrees. So you would want to line your protractor up with angle B, make sure to give yourself a guide mark, and draw a 30-degree angle. You know that line segment needs to be 5 centimeters between point A and point B. That was given in the question. Once you have your guide mark drawn for where a 30-degree angle is from point B, you will line your ruler up and make sure that the vertex B and your guide mark match. You only have to have a 5 centimeter line in that case because that was given in the question. You were told that line side AB was 5 centimeters. You want to make sure you label it as 5 centimeters after you've drawn it, and that you also take note to put angle A up top. Now, you need to finish the triangle. You need to connect the remaining points A and C that haven't been connected yet. It's okay to not know exactly at this point what the measurement is. You want to line your ruler up with point A and C and finish your triangle. Once you have it completed, then you can measure to see how long point A to C is. And you can measure to also determine the other angles in this triangle. As you can see, you will have the 30-degree angle that you already started with. You will have a 32-degree angle A and a 118-degree angle C. Now that you know your angles and you have all of your side measurements listed, you do want to name what type of triangle this is. And we know we can classify triangles based on their sides and their angles. Well, this particular triangle has all different side measurements and all different angles. It also has an angle that is greater than 90 degrees. Angle C is 118 degrees. In knowing that, you need to make sure to note that this is a scalene and an obtuse triangle. Let's look at B. You will also be asked to draw a triangle XYZ. You are told that the measure of angle X is 60 degrees, the measure of angle Y is 50 degrees, and the length of side XY is 5 centimeters. I'm going to share with you what that needs to look like. You would want to start by drawing a 5 centimeter line segment. That was given to you. That can be the baseline of your triangle. You want to label it, one side is X, one side is Y, and make sure to note that it is 5 centimeters. From there, you can use your protractor starting at point X to determine angle X. It is going to be 60 degrees, which was given in the question. You need to line your protractor up, give yourself a guide mark, and make a 60-degree angle. Then you want to go to point Y. Point Y, or angle Y, you were told in the question, has an angle degree measurement of 50 degrees. You need to use your protractor. Give yourself a guide mark when you have it lined up to see where a 50-degree angle would take you. When you do that, your remaining point will be filled in, and it will be where the angle that you drew for angle X or not so much the angle, the line that you drew from angle X to Z and the angle Y to Z, it's where those intersect. And make sure, if you drew them longer when you were measuring your angle and going with the guide point, to erase anything that is outside of the triangle. Then you want to use your ruler to make sure that you measure the other sides. And in this case, the other sides, besides 5 centimeters, one side was 4 centimeters. That was from point X to Z. And from Y to Z, it was 4.6 centimeters. You must label the side measurements, and you need to label the angles. You were given 2 angle measurements in the question, X, was 60 degrees and y was 50 degrees. You have enough information knowing that those two angles added together equal 110 degrees to determine that angle Z will be 70 degrees. But it's really important to use your protractor to check and make sure that you've drawn your triangle accurately. The final thing to do here is to be sure to name what type of triangle this is. Well, just like in A, all angles and sides are different in triangle B. So this is a scalene triangle. But we also have to look and see, well, all angles are actually less than 90 degrees. So this is also an acute triangle. The first one, in A, it was a scalene obtuse. In B, it is a scalene acute. So take note of that. Moving on, our next question. This says, suppose triangle LMN has these measures. Angle M is 60 degrees. Angle N is 60 degrees. Side LM is 6 centimeters. The first thing it asks you is, what is the measure of angle L? You have enough information here to determine what angle L is because they gave you the other two angles. They were both 60 degrees, which adds up to 120 degrees. And I know the three angles must add up to 180 degrees. So I could start with 180 degrees, subtract 120 degrees to get a remaining amount of 60 degrees. Knowing that, I know that angle L is 60 degrees and that all of the angles are the same in this particular triangle. That means I have a pretty good idea what type of triangle this is, but it's very important to measure your triangle and to draw it out. You know that one side length is 6 centimeters. When you draw it out, you will determine that this not only has side LM at 6 centimeters, but side LN and side MN are also 6 centimeters. And the type of triangle this is an equilateral triangle. Not just an equilateral triangle, but an acute equilateral triangle. The last question in this section, it asks how many lines of symmetry does it have? When you're dealing with an equilateral triangle, remember, it contains 3 lines of symmetry. Moving on. In this next question, you will be asked to write a rule to find the perimeter of this shape. You'll also be asked to write the rule as a formula and then determine what is the perimeter. When you have a question like this, it's very important to think about how you would find the perimeter. The rule for finding the perimeter of this shape would be to add the length and the width of the parallelogram, then multiply by 2. The formula we would use would be a capital P equals, in brackets, lowercase l plus lowercase w, which is length plus width. And after we add those two, we then multiply by 2. So for this particular parallelogram, the perimeter would equal 9 centimeters. Because 3 plus 1.5 equals 4.5. That multiplied by 2 equals 9. We also have to remember to include the unit of measurement. In this case, it is centimeters. So the perimeter equals 9 centimeters. For the next question, you are given a table. There are 4 different rectangles you have here, A, B, C, and D. In some situations, you're given the length and the width, and you need to determine the area. In others, you are given either the length or the width, and also given the area. And you need to determine how to find the missing part. Well, for rectangle A, you are given the length and the width, and these are in centimeters. It is 14 multiplied by 6. So when we multiply those two numbers together, we get 84. But remember, we have to include the unit of measure, centimeters, and we are finding the area. So the final answer would be 84 centimeters squared, or 84 squared centimeters. For rectangle B, you are given the length and you're also given the area. So what you need to do is you have to take 300, the area, 300 centimeters squared, and divide by 25. Doing that, you will find what the width would be for that particular rectangle. 300 divided by 25 equals 12 centimeters. So the width equals 12 centimeters. For C, you are given the width and the area. So in this case, you have to take the area and divide it by the width. So 128 centimeters squared divided by 8 centimeters. When you do that, you will determine that the length is 16 centimeters. For D, here you are given the length and the width, so you need to multiply those two numbers together to determine what the area is. The length is 11.8 and the width is 9. When you multiply those two numbers together, you will get 106.2. And don't forget the very important part, centimeters squared. The area for rectangle D is 106.2 centimeters squared. It is not correct if you forget the unit of measure and to square it. So be sure to take note of that. For the next question, it states, which pair of polygons are congruent and how did you decide? Okay, here, after careful review of the shapes, you can see that A and D are congruent. They match. You might even think about them being identical. For B and F, they are also congruent. C and H are also congruent. And the second part of that question was they wanted to know how we would decide. I know that polygons in each pair are congruent because corresponding angles and corresponding sides have the same measures. In the next question, you are asked to sort the polygons into sets of regular and irregular polygons and record your sorting in a table. You are also asked to sort the polygons into sets of convex and concave polygons and record your sorting in a table. Okay, let's have a look. Here, the regular polygons are ones that are B, C, and F, whereas the irregular polygons are A, D, E, and G. For the second part of that, whether they are convex or concave, the polygons that are convex are B, C, D, F, and G. And the concave ones are A and E. In the next section, the next question asks, Sandar needs a box in the shape of a rectangular prism with volume 300 centimeters squared. He wants the box to hold a gift he bought for his mother. You need to make a sketch of a box Sandar might use and label its dimensions. And also think about what might the gift be that Sandar bought. Remember, the volume will be 300 centimeters cubed. In this question, you do need to draw a rectangular prism. I chose 3 numbers that I knew I could easily multiply together to get 300. I chose 10 centimeters for the length, 10 centimeters for the width, and 3 centimeters for the height. 10 times 10 equals 100. 100 times 3 equals 300, which would get me 300 centimeters cubed. Be sure to practice how to draw a rectangular prism so that you're prepared for it. As well, the second part of this question asked, what type of gift could be included in that box? Now remember the dimensions, 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters by 3 centimeters. Having a total volume of 300 centimeters cubed, an example of a gift could be a bracelet, a watch, or possibly a necklace. Happy studying, and that's all for now. Till next time.